my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, miss you every day. You like my oxygen. Make it seem like the barging down. Got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch. Might wake the neighbors up. Break you in and break you out. In the end, we're gonna make it.
Deanna, welcome back to another edition of All Time High.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
The table stakes are, speaking of high, pretty high right now as we look into the window of another Fed rate cut decision.
Yes. What's your prediction? What do you think is going to happen? We've been dying for this, by the way.
Oh no, it seems like we've been waiting. This is arguably long overdue.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I don't say that because of any political ramifications, although there are politics involved in this. It's more or less what the other countries are doing. I say it from that competitive POV. All the other countries have been cutting rates. And so we're sitting up there at a much higher rate than what we would call the countries that typically reside in the same neighborhood that we reside in. Right? You would expect our rates comparatively to be lower when looked at through the lens of other countries. But why do we even care about other countries? Why? Why, Deanna?
Because we do. Because everybody plays in crypto. I don't know. What's your
that's
thoughts
where I'm going. Yeah, all the countries.
We're there.
Yeah, we're on the same. We're synchronized. Because when all these countries start creating liquidity at the same time, which is what the environment is that we're in right now, because what do? They print more fiat currency. What do people do? They buy things.
Spend. They buy.
And
they buy
where do
stuff.
they spend? One of the risk asset classes they buy often is crypto.
Yes. Yep. I anticipate, well, I was doing some research before about traditionally what has happened after a Fed rate cut. And they were saying that the S&P tends to it's super volatile. We know that crypto tends to follow stocks at this point because it's still a speculative market, even though it's over $1 trillion asset class. So I would anticipate that coming in this next week, as soon as the Fed rates are cut, next month or so, we're going to see a lot of volatility within. Plus, you pull up that little handy dandy chart where everybody's taking profits. And I bet we could probably almost predict a little bit of the volatility that'll happen.
Yeah, we probably almost could. In fact, I'm going to show you some things in a second, but I'm going to lay out the odds as they sit presently. Are you ready for this?
Let's hear it.
So the probabilities of a 50 basis point cut, which would be on the high end of a cut. Yeah. If that happened, oh my gosh, the markets are going to explode.
Yeah.
That's 4%. Not a high likelihood that would occur. The next option, which is a 96% chance of a 25 point basis cut. And then right now, based on Business Insider information that I have, the conventional wisdom, 0% chance of no rate cut. Yeah. So it looks like something's happening.
Yeah, something's definitely going to happen. I think it's interesting as well that the job market isn't the best at the moment in the US. And even though the S&P is the highest it's ever been, they're still going to cut the rates. So I think that the trifecta of those things is going to make for a really interesting next few months for us.
Yeah. And it's kind of wild looking out there, not financial advice, do your own research. Our risk tolerance is not your risk tolerance, but you look, the market, and I want you to speak to this in terms of crypto. We're kind of at these all-time highs and like right on the edge of not Bitcoin, but just the market in terms of all the Russell 2000. You were talking about the S&P. You're looking at the altcoin crypto market is right there, bouncing up against this, meeting a place that it's been at before. However, there is not this enthusiasm in retail. Typically, we see like this excitement. So, Deanna, where has all the excitement gone? Why are people not excited about Wind Moon and Laser Eyes and all this, that, and the other? It just seems kind of low key.
Yeah. And you saw BlackRock just went and bought, what was it, like $1 billion worth of Bitcoin as well. Right. Yeah. So everybody's hands are in it. Everybody's excited about it. I'm going to look to the US to continue to pump this asset class. We know that we're going to use it to leverage our debt. We saw one of the companies or one of the countries we don't name on this.
Yeah.
Just
not on this show.
Was talking about it. Yeah. No, we try not to anyways. Doesn't always work that way.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
But it's not a question of what we're doing. And I think that the play that we're making is extremely smart. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
Well, as you look at that, right, these different ETFs that are getting filed right now, and this is going to create tremendous upside pressure. If you see the word spot ETF and approval, that means the institutions are actually going to buy the coin, right? They're going to own the asset, which then causes, I mean, it's economics, supply and demand. If they lock up an asset that you hold and people don't sell, guess what happens to the price? It goes up, right? There's a lot of Solana's on the line, XRP's on the line. I don't know who else is being considered for ETFs. You might know more, but I know those two, which not financial advice, do your own research, are sitting in my portfolio today. Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, you seem to know. You seem to be on it, Jim. You'd be killing it.
I'm just hanging out, trying to make this thing come together, grow the space. The class that we measure, right, on Coin Market Cap is at 4.1 trillion ish today.
Nice.
And so that's way above the 2.5 trillion that we started at with this. And still, though, much less than the 10 trillion that I expect that it gets to in our lifetime. But if we start tokenizing real world assets, 10 trillion is way low.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And another thing that I saw that was kind of interesting was, we're also in the midst of all of this and the biggest technological boom we've ever had with the convergence of AI. And so as things are going to start getting cheaper. You think about back in the day, all the money you'd have to pay for a gigantic television set that would be there. Now it's very inexpensive and they're sleeker and more maneuverable. And so if we're thinking technology along those parts, some things should start getting easier as we go more and more and more digital. I mean, I don't think it'll be too long before we just go straight digital in cash all the way.
Oh no, there'll be I could be wrong. It may. But can you foresee a day where they do a redemption deal? Like ultimately the government's going to want you out of fiat cash. I think it would be crazy to do it because it'll create a lot of unnecessary noise.
Sure.
But if they said to America, hey, the world's on this already because other countries are, another country we're not going to mention basically transacts everything on their phone. Yep. And we, in theory, could because the technology exists. But if they said, hey, Deanna, we've got this limited time offer by the end of the calendar year. This is not real. This is just Jim's imagination running wild out there. I'm a wild speculator. What if they said, Deanna, for all the cash that you turn in person in a bank, we'll give you 1.25% of it on your app? What would you do with all the cash that you've got hidden under your couch? You'd be like,
mine's in crypto. I didn't hide any cash. Who wants cash?
But would you turn in your hard cash for 25% more? Would you turn in your hard cash for 10% more? Like, would you turn in your hard cash for 50% more? Because it's just fiat dollars.
I think you have to go back to the one thing about eliminating cash. And this is, I think the biggest hiccup is you can't hide money laundering, right? Like everything will then have a digital trail.
Yeah. Fingerprint.
And for some governments in some places, that's not ideal. Especially like I'm sure the US has black ops and things that we pay for. And I always wonder, like, when stuff gets confiscated, like they keep our taxes and they keep all this other stuff. Like, where does all this money go? Right now, you're going to have a digital trail. You're going to know exactly where it goes. So, the dynamics are interesting to see what happens. I think we'll eventually get there, but the things at stake to get us there are definitely ones that'll hold us back for a minute.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of discussion and then there'll be a moment. People who are in the space long enough have heard the phrase flip the switch, as if there's going to be this moment where it just all happens. And I don't think that's necessarily true. It may seem like when we look back that there was a moment. I don't know when or where that's going to be, but right now we are still in this process of setting up the guardrails, setting up the rules, setting up the regs, and it's taken a little bit of time. But in this window of time for people, not financial advice, do your own research. I'm going to say it 100 times because I'm about to show you something that's really good. That is a place where I've been finding alpha through the years, plural, right? Like this is not some overnight sensation. And I like to share that with our audience from time to time, because at the end of the day, you may want to, or you may not want to invest, but if you do, these are certain considerations. Yeah. So do you feel like we're at a moment of truth?
Is there a drum roll?
You got a drum? I can't play the,
no.
I mean, we need Tatiana in here playing music of some sort.
That's right. We do.
We do.
While
We need to
you're
get her
pulling
back.
this up, I do want to say that I've been good at calling it. I'm Team Crawford all the way. And I was 100% hoping he was going to beat Canelo, even though I love Canelo as well. I know you said boxing's not really your thing. So back when I was in the Army, I actually traveled with Crawford on the Army boxing team. We were all in the same boxing circuit together. So him and Stephen Stone Cold Nelson, I think is his nickname. He was on the undercard on the Crawford fight as well. So all of us used to go and travel around, and Clarissa Shields, who was the first woman boxer to ever win gold for the U.S. So I just want to say Crawford won. We're good at calling it, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Wait, so this fight's in Vegas?
Yes.
Yes?
Yep.
Crawford won.
Yes.
You were in Vegas at the fight?
Yep. I went to the fights. Yep.
Before the fight occurred, did you go to an establishment where one could place a bet on said fight?
No.
Is it because you're in the industry?
Somebody did a $2 million bet on Crawford, and I'm like, man, because he was the underdog, right? Like,
oh, wow.
And he looked phenomenal, but I should have. Afterwards, I was like, I don't know why. I think I jinxed people back in the day. I would never bet on the Patriots because whenever I would, they would lose. So I just don't do it because I don't want people to lose because of me. And I'm that person.
Deanna, and we don't necessarily agree on everything. This bodes not well for the Buffalo Bills, who we both earlier picked to win the Super Bowl.
I'm not betting on them. I picked Crawford to win too. As long as I don't bet on them, we're good, right?
Okay.
Crypto I can bet on, and it's not a bet. Well, crypto I'm good at. Betting on sports, I feel like I tank them, so I don't do it.
All right. Fair enough. All right. I'm going to get back to this screen. I was there. That was a good story as we transitioned over to, well, I think it's going to be some good alpha for our listeners. I want you to listen in. I know you haven't seen it before. And it talks about the moment of truth, not unlike the fight. But here we are 1 day away.
History. And we're going to be going through this together. And it's hard for me to sit here and predict what is going to happen exactly from this meeting because the cold hard truth is I don't know. But what I can present to you is show you there's certainly a dynamic shift that's happening here throughout the market. We have fascinating setups throughout the market. We have confluence throughout the market for a time period where there could be a major catch up that could happen in here. And if we were to choose together, and if we were to say, well, what is a dynamic that we would look for to imply that this isn't going to happen and that we're going to reject from here? What is something that we would look for? Well, we would look for irrational exuberance to be happening. We'd look for the crowd to be pouring in. We'd want to be seeing it on back-end data. And we would be thinking that the crowd would be pouring in like we saw back in November of last year, where the crowd comes in to buy the top. Yet, as we are back at the high, that is nowhere to be seen. So we're right on the edge of the biggest moment in crypto's history, at least dating back for the last 5 years. Up here sits glory. Down here, we all go back to the waiting room, and we're right on the edge of a giant catalyst approaching the market, waiting to see if the stock market is going to respond accordingly. It's intense. It's not just any moment in the market. It's the moment in the market. We've had highest daily closes above 2021 and above 2024, and even above these peaks here in August of earlier this year. There's one spot remaining, and we're here at the exact same time we're having a major event happening in macro markets.
That last slide was the interest rates being cut. The one just before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, where it went down. You're like, what is that? That is basically where if the interest rates, which have been staying steady, were to fall, then everything else starts to go up. And I will point this out. This right about here. I mean, obviously he made a good point. This is where we're bouncing up against these all-time highs and just haven't been able to break out. I mean, we've hit them there a couple times in the past. These have been the peaks of the cycle previously. But is this the moment? Is this the time where we actually break through? And I think the Fed rate cut is a big piece of that puzzle. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I would completely agree.
And here's my take. And so he does a nice job. Let's talk about who this is for a second. The guy's name is Blockchain Backer. I met him at one of the conferences. What's the one in Austin that's now all over the place, all over the world?
Consensus?
Yes. Met him there. Great guy. Very analytical. He said he lived in Texas. I asked him where. He said, oh, he didn't want to tell me. Because people do look at his stuff and like think it is financial advice, even though it's not. He's very clear that it's not. But you look at that apex, right? So let's say they cut rates. We're 96% sure they're going to cut rates. You agree? 25 basis points.
Yep.
Let's say they do that. The real thing here, the real alpha isn't just this, because he set it up. The Russell 2000's got to go. Bitcoin dominance may need to drop. If you look, there's a catch-up point here where we're trying to find. Did you see how Bitcoin was out in front and the altcoins are going to catch up?
Yeah, I mean, that it would be interesting. We saw that Solana, right? Solana was making moves this weekend before it dropped back down. So, you know, they were saying they were predicting Solana to even take over ETH at some point.
But he wouldn't tell me where he lived. I just want to say that. And then, because people get sensitive about this stuff and they're serious about this stuff. And I want to be sensitive and serious, but I want to understand, do you see the gap between the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow Jones and Bitcoin? So they've all escaped. They've all escaped. They're sitting on that edge.
Yeah.
Look at where the altcoins and Russell 2000 are. Not that it's not investment advice, but if I were going to put something where the goal is to buy low and sell high, I would be buying Russell 2000 and altcoins right now. They're the ones that stand a chance to catch up if the market escapes. Yeah. But here's where I think this whole thing turns on a dime. Challenge my thinking. It isn't just what they do. It's what Jerome Powell is going to say.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, of course. And we already know how he is.
Do you think, I mean, if he says things that are dovish, this thing may just take off. If he says things that are hawkish, even though the rate cut comes in at 25 points, it's not really about that anymore to me. It's about what he says about future policy decisions. Okay. Well, I think, I think it's just going to be an interesting time to watch the market, right? Do we know what, where the sell and buy points are with the exchanges? Like, have we looked at any of that as far as like what's laid out, or? In terms of what, as far as?
Liquidation points. So where they're going to get liquidated?
I can do that if you can carry the conversation for just a second. I want you to speculate for the audience what it is you think Jerome's going to do. Is it going to be more hawkish, more dovish? Where's this thing going? And I will find what you're looking for. He's always been so conservative. And it feels like him and some of the people in the US maybe butt heads a little bit. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's an interesting time. I feel like we're in a weird precedent of things that have happened, but things that have never happened, right? We've never had an asset class like this before that has gone mainstream in the middle of all this stuff. We've never really had a cut in the middle of a job market where it seems to be stagnant. And then we have a technological boom, right? So all these things that we talked about, I don't even know if I could venture to guess. I think you would say, would you believe me, Deanna, if I told you that I knew what's going to happen? Oh, yes. I watch our show. Here's what I know. I have watched the two battle, not during this presidency. This is the encore. This is the Empire Strikes Back. Right. I was watching Star Wars when he and they were fighting about, at the time, it was Amazon and Google, and when they're raising interest rates. And I will tell you that Mr. Powell, I say it with a great deal of respect because he has a very serious job, does not care about and does not care for the current president. So if anything, I expect that his commentary will be more hawkish, which will force the markets, even with the rate cut, to kind of bounce along. I don't think we'll get that engaging velocity, escape velocity, which is going to be driven by retail. Like there's going to be a moment in time, and he has been too late. He's been too late too often to think that now he's going to change his tone and be more dovish. Yeah. That's my 2 cents, not financial advice. I would go with that. I feel like that's a good representation of what's the current situation. Yeah. He's going to say we're data dependent. He's not going to commit to future cuts. He's going to say that the job market is something that we'll continually monitor. I mean, I've seen this story before. I wish it were different, but it really is going to come down to what happens at some future point in time. All right. I think you can see on the screen now, can't you? The Marty Party, our other alpha. So the other guy was blockchain backer. I hope we get that and get those in the notes. So How's the market reading it? Which one do you want to look at, Deanna? And we got about pick one.
Well, let's start. I mean, let's start with Bitcoin.
All right, let's go to Bitcoin. And over here on the left, I'm just going to do the thing I do. I would say right now, if the price is at 116, which is a nice price in my mind.
Yep.
The red and the orange below means that people are overly optimistic. That's counterintuitive. However, it's the way to read this chart because those are the call option levels where liquidation occurs. And the exchanges make money when liquidations occur. And it deleverages the risk that they face to pay out things that they may or may not have resources for, right? Because if Bitcoin takes off and they haven't cleared out those call options that are below the current level, guess what? They got to pay a lot of money.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You think CZ is going to let that happen?
No, of course not. I don't think
so.
Any
This
of them
says to me that it would clear 113. I know there's a line marked at 111.8, but I don't know. And then as you look, usually these things are so volatile, they'll go down and clear 113, and then they make money on the way back up. All those call options will be cleared out. Now it's the put options that are going to get put to rest, pun intended, as it moves up to 117.8. So you're going to, the exchanges want a hawkish response because it creates volatility as people wait. And so do you remember when it went nuts with Elon scheduled on the Saturday Night Live?
Oh yeah. Do
you remember Coinbase got issued the IPO? About the same time? Like all those things happened at the same time. Like we had our crypto exchange was finally going to be institutionalized, SEC, you could trade the stock. I'm just saying we've got to have some external catalyst, and I just don't think we can yet hang our hat on Jerome Powell.
No, I agree.
All right. Well, there we have it. Only time. Well, you know how they say the rest is history? I disagree. Today, Deanna, the rest is the future.
I knew you were going to say that. I love it. And the future looks bright.
The future looks bright. And
That's
Deanna,
right.
we're signing off today. We'll see you next time on All Time High.
Bye, everyone.
You on my mind a lot. Don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my